The first thing we need to do is to cut the hole for the door. Now you can take this guy off, it just sits in there with some gravity pins. It makes it a lot easier to work with. Lay out this square. Now here, if you move this little guy carefully here, you can mark the 4 corners. To cut these 2 openings, you can use lots of different tools. You could use a grinder with a cutoff wheel. You could use a reciprocating saw. You could use a acetylene torch. I'm going to use a plasma torch. Well, that got my attention. All right, take the bung out if you're going to use a plasma torch because it injects air in there, and that about scared me to death. I'll do this one freehand just to show you the difference, trying to do it without a straight edge. Let's see how we did here. So everything looks pretty good. Just make sure that you've got airflow through those holes there. You cut them right side. Make sure you have a place for a screw to go. You haven't overcut something. If you have a little bit of hanging out right there, you might want to trim that. It's up to you. This is pretty close right here. I can kind of split the difference. If you do have that hanging out there, it does give you a problem tearing up your hands as you're feeding it. It'll cut you pretty bad. So I think I am going to trim that a little bit. I'll just mark that right there. Trim it back. I have plenty of room. That way we're not going to hurt ourselves on that sheet metal. That looks better. Now we've got none of that sharp, jagged edge showing. We've got just that smooth cast iron, so we won't tear our hands up. Okay, let's put 2 screws in now before we do anything else. You can just drill these or just burn them if you have a torch. These screws are Phillips. The nut on the backside is 10 millimeter. That's metric. That's why they burn out so quickly. You can just as easily drill these out. I think these barrels are thicker than normal barrels. With that done, we're ready to install our legs next. Now, get yourself a piece of cribbing that is exactly the height of this right here. This will help us so we don't have to fight that barrel so much. Take your level across the top here, and we'll just rotate that. That looks actually pretty good. What do you say, guys? That look pretty good there? Keep in mind, this is a Chinese casting, so all bets are off when it comes to precision here. As far as your setback goes on the legs, that's kind of up to you. I'm gonna go 2.5 inches. Drill that hole about 5/16 on these guys, and that will give you plenty of a little extra adjustment room. All right, take your center punch. Punch the center of these. Now we're ready to put our flange and damper on. Now before we do this, we have to make sure that we don't have these rear legs bolted up yet. We just got them propped up, but make sure that it's sitting square and flat, and just make sure that the screws fit into at least one hole on each side. Once we get this hole cut, then that will give us access in there to put the other screws on. This is the flange that will receive your chimney pipe. It does a couple things. It's got a damper in it as well. So this you can control the airflow and how hot the stove burns. Center this guy here between just about between the edge right there and the rib. Let's measure real quick there. Whatever you do here, if you're going to go put the double barrel on, you'll have to just match this. So make it simple for yourself. Before you drill these holes, take a Sharpie and make a mark on there. That way we can see if it shifts at all when we're drilling. We're going to drill two holes, one on each side first. What I find with this stuff is if you drop a screw in, it just really, and now we've got that line, we can see that it did shift a little bit. Make sure that that's lined up and put one here. Now it's not going to go anywhere. We can just drop these two in here and that will be where it's going to go. Now, if you're cutting this with a reciprocating saw, just drill a hole or whatever, just cut that out there, or a grinding wheel. If you have a torch, what I've done in the past is just use this as a guide. With this flange cut out, we can put those remaining screws in. You'll just need a little stubby Phillips screwdriver. Or I guess if you're doing it up on the bench, you wouldn't need a stubby. It's kind of a bit of a stretch here. So if you could, that screwdriver handle's not so long, then you have a little easier time of it. Now you're ready to put your dampener in. Drop it in this way. Make sure you orient your handle in a way that you can reach it, especially if you're going to be putting it in sideways, like against a wall like I am. Now compress that spring and then turn it and it will hold itself in that groove right there. And now you can control the draft on the stove. Well, that's about all there is to it, guys. It's pretty straightforward. It looks like they've got it there's a hole here. You know, a guy could build a nice handle for it, and I think I might do that. It seems to be easy enough just to reach this, though. Doesn't seem to be a problem. You have this little tab as well. I think that's what they were intending with this spring. Maybe that just, oh, there you go. It's kind of low tech. I guess we could bend that around there and make that tight, but that's something that would be usable. Or maybe the idea is to use it on, no, it's probably just to be like that. Not the best. Having a wood stove in your shop is, it just changes everything. You know, sometimes it's a little hard when it's really cold and wet and damp outside and you want to go out and do projects. If you can have just something with a heat source on there like a wood stove, even if it's just a 30-gallon one, you know, just a single 30, which is really a nice size, it puts out a lot of nice heat. You could set up your workbench right next to it, and it just makes a cold, damp, dank, wet space. It just makes it warm and hospitable. I don't know what it is about it. I mean, I think people have said forever that the wood stove is the heart, or the hearth is the heart of the home, and it truly is. When you come home from like vacation and the house is cold and there's no fire in the wood stove, it just doesn't feel the same as when you come home and, you know, have that warmth and everything. There's something to it that is hard to even capture with words, but it's a great little project, something you can do yourself. Find some barrels that are used. You can, you know, save 2/3 of the money or get new ones, but that's it. Thanks for watching. Keep us in your prayers. May God bless you and your families, and we'll see you guys on the next video.